So, hello sa inyo. So, ito discussion tayo or basically our last lecture video for this subject, BAPE 7, and for the last part of our topic which is derivatives. So, na-discuss na natin yung basically yung introduction ng derivatives and yung pag-account sa fair value hedges under yung realized asset, realized liability, and yung sa firm commitment, 'di ba? Sa previous video natin sa forward contracts. Now, we will go to the part 3 of the derivatives topic, which is accounting for future contracts, options, and swaps. Ito 'yon, chapter 13. So, di ba na-discuss natin yung nature ng futures contract last time and na-differentiate na natin siya. Anong difference sa forward contract? Di ba? Futures contract is a contract traded on an exchange that allows an entity to buy or sell a specified quantity of commodity or financial security at a specified price on a specified future date. So may similarities to siya sa forward contracts. Same lang sila ng nature. Iba lang yung kanilang itsura. Parang ganun. Same lang sila ng nature, iba lang yung kanilang itsura. Basically, di ba, sabi natin si forward contract more on private siya, customizable yung yung provisions, yung stipulations ng contract nila, and kapag sinisettle na siya, dalawang options meron. Either i-perform talaga nila yung obligation nila doon sa na specified sa contract na magbentahan, or mag-settle na lang sila sa net cash payment, net cash settlement. Now, pagdating dito sa futures contract, as we have discussed, pro forma na yung kanyang contract form, kasi decided na yan tas traded sa isang stock exchange. Futures dami yan, lalo na sa oil, lalo na pagdating sa oil, maraming futures contract dyan. And lastly, pag sinisettle yung futures contract, as we have said, net cash settlement na lang. Kung ano yung difference, yun na lang yung bayaran. Kasi nga, para rin yung Philippine Stock Exchange, stock exchange ng shares sa market natin, sa Philippine Stock Exchange. Ang difference lang, hindi shares ng company yung basis ng prices dito sa exchange ng mga futures contract, but rather the prices of the commodities. As I have said, gaya ng oil, yun yung nagiging basis ng prices nila. So, for example, yung futures contract mo, ito, simple example lang to. Yung futures contract mo, ang nakalagay dyan, gaya na, same sa sinabi natin last time, $2 million for 4 million barrels of oil. O, pag nagkaroon ng instance na yung 4 million barrels of oil naging 2.5 million, ang hawak mo is 2 million, so that is a loss on your part of 500 million. Kumita ka sana Pero pag naging kumita ka sana, nakatipid ka sana. Kasi to purchase man. Pero pag bumaba ng 1.5 million dollars per 4 million barrels, lugi ka. Diba? Parang ganun lang yung futures contracts, kung ano yung difference. Para rin siyang shares, nagpapalitan kayo ng shares. Pero dito, futures contract ang tawag, tapos yung basis is kung ano yung commodity. So, yun lang. Pero, pagdating sa accounting, itong futures contract, pati itong forward contract natin last time, similar lang. Similar lang yung gagawin nyo. Iba lang yung mga terms kasi future contract to. Pero similar lang yung gagawin nyo. Kaya, pagdating ito sa mga examples natin, similar lang yung mangyayari. So, no hedging designation, halos similar lang. So, no hedging designation, so basically, for speculation yan. So, nung December 1 2001, si ABC enters into a silver futures contract para mag-purchase ng 1,000 ounces of silver on February 1, 2002 na for 200 pesos per ounce. The broker requires an initial margin deposit of 20,000. Alam sir, di ba kala ko sabi nyo sa options lang merong initial investment? Sa options lang meron tayong minimal initial investment. Itong initial margin na to as provided here, hindi yan siya tinatrato as investment but rather as a receivable. Marireceive mo rin yan sa future. Babalik lang yan sa'yo. Parang na gano'n lang. Parang na yun na gano'n, di ba? Bumili ka ng botelya ng Coke. Tapos, magre-require ng deposit sa si tindera. Tapos pag ibabalik mo na yung deposit, yung botelya ng Coke, ibabalik niya din sa iyo yung deposit mo. Parang ganun lang yun. So yan, parang naninigurado lang ba? Parang ganun. So yan, deposit lang yan. Kung saan receivable account yan, hindi yan siya derivative. So hindi mo yan siya matatrato as initial investment. Ito yung quoted prices for the per ounce ng silver, 200, 190, 185. And guys, sabi ito, as we have said, futures contract are normally settled on a net cash basis. Sa forward contract, dalawa. Either net cash basis sila, yung settlement nila, or papanindigan nila kung ano yung nasa forward contract, yung exchange of goods for the consideration of money. Pero sa futures contract, net cash settlement lang. So ito, same lang maliban sa deposited broker, receivable account yan Huwag nyo ititrato yan as initial investment. Receivable account yan. So yun. So similar ulit, speculation So wala tayong hedge item So ito, bumaba ng 10 yung value ng ounce silver. So that is a loss on your part. Kasi required kang bumili ng 200, pero pagdating ng December 31 sa market, 190 na lang siya. So, nasobrahan ka ng bayad basically, babayaran basically. So, loss yan sa'yo of 10K. Pagdating ng February 1, kung saan isi-settle yun na yung bibili ka na talaga. Well, not necessarily kasi net cash settlement lang man yan. Naging 185 na mas bumaba yung presyo ng silver. Malas mo naman. Tapos required kang i-purchase yan na 200. So yun, nagkaroon ka ng additional loss sa yung futures contract o 5K. So, ngayon, tawag dito, February 1 naman kasi isi-settle nyo na yan. So, required ka magbayad ng cash o 5K. Futures contract, tapos, kasi, wait lang additional 10K, so 15 yung 15. So, tingnan nyo yan. So, sir, akala ko ba nagkaroon siya ng loss of 15? Kasi 200, tapos naging 90, so 10 yung loss niya. Tapos minus 5 pa kasi naging 185 na lang. So, dapat sir, di ba ang loss niya? Ang babayaran niya is basically 15 kasi yung naging loss niya. Take note, yung deposited broker niya. Yung deposited broker niya. Kasi ang sabi dito, nandito kapag talo si company, yung babayaran niya kukunin muna sa deposit niya. Kung may kulang, aabonuhan niya. Pero pag nanalo siya, natin sinanalo, but rather nagka-gain siya itong si company, so mababawi niya na yung yung deposit niya, may additional pa siyang gain. Na in this case kasi, si company natalo. Kasi required siya mag-purchase ng 200 tapos 185 na lang sa market. So, loss yan sa kanya. However, since may deposit na siya at the beginning pa lang of 20,000, tapos ang talo niya is 15K, so doon na lang kukunin. Doon na lang kukunin yung kanyang talo. So yan, kaya dito, ang na-return na lang sa kanya is 5K. Kasi yung 15K kinuha na lang sa kanyang deposit. So ang na-return na lang sa kanya, debit cash of 5K. So yan Nandito lang yun ang wording niya Pag panalo siya basically, pag panalo si company, balik sa kanya yung kanyang deposit kasi receivable yan And may ginansya pa siya based on the gain. However, kapag talo si company, in this case, talo siya 200 yung babayaran niya 185 lang sa market. So with that, kukunin mo na yung kanyang liability sa kanyang deposit. Kapag kulang pa yung deposit, then aabonuhan niya. Ganun yun. So ito, simple alternative. So ito, same na lang. Same na lang to sa natin, forwards contract. Same na lang yan sa forwards contract. Basahin niyo na lang. So let's go to cash flow hedge. Now ito, 'di ba? Ang napag-usapan pa lang natin all throughout, 'di ba? Is na account natin is cash flow ano yung tawag dito? Is fair value hedge, 'di ba? From the realized asset, realized liability to the firm commitments sa forward contract. Ngayon naman dito sa future contract na ano natin yung firm commitment, pati yung recognized asset pati recognized liability. Ngayon, punta naman tayo sa cash flow hedge. As we have said, ano ba yung na-discuss natin sa cash flow hedge? Si cash flow hedge, as opposed to fair value hedge, kasi dito si fair value hedge, hini-hedge mo yung exposure mo sa changes ng fair value. Diba? Hini-hedge mo. Nililimit mo yung exposure mo sa changes sa fair value. Pagdating kay cash flow hedge, from the word itself, you are hedging your exposure from the variability of the cash flows na marireceive mo sa future. O yun. You are hedging. You are limiting your exposure from the variability of the cash flows na marireceive mo sa future. Yan si cash flow hedge. And si cash flow hedge, saan siya na-apply? Diba? Sa net gain yung sa, anong tawag dito? Yung net investment gain, yung sa forecasted transactions, diba? And some recognized asset and recognized liability. Diyan na-apply si cash flow hedge. Tapos yung pag-account natin sa kanya sa changes, yung effective portion, i-account natin sa OCI. Yung ineffective portion sa profit or loss. Diba? Ganon yung na-discuss natin last time. So, more specifically, the cash flow hedge is accounted for as follows. Yung separate component of equity niya associated with the hedge item is adjusted to the lesser of the following. The absolute amount. Ito yung mga wordings na mas naintindihan mo kapag may example, di ba? Cumulative gain or loss on the hedging and cumulative gain fair value. Any remaining gain or loss on the hedging instrument or designated component of it that is not an effective hedge is recognized in profit or loss. So yun, effective portion, ineffective portion, OCI. Mas maintindihan to kapag may example tayo. So si ABC ko, cash flow hedge, assessment of hedge effectiveness. So, move natin to. So, nung July 1, 2001, si ABC ko, a vegetable dealer, forecast the purchase of 1,000 kilograms of broccoli in 6 months. Now, di ba? Ito, remember? Recap lang. Anong difference ng firm commitment sa forecasted transaction? Di ba ang firm commitment, may kasunduan na kayo at the first place to purchase or to sell a specified commodity at a specified price at a specified amount. Di ba? Ganun si firm commitment. May pinag-usapan talaga kayo, may kontrata kayo. Si forecasted naman, forecast transaction, wala eh. Napaka-variable. Ini-expect mo lang because of some past customary transactions based sa ugali ng company, di ba? Forecasted. Parang nanghula ka pero yung hula mo malaki yung possibility na mangyari because ginagawa niya na to sa dati, di ba? May customary na. Kaya nga forecasted transaction. Pero walang commitment dito. Nag-expect ka lang. And with that, variable siya. So, ito, continue natin. The purchase of 1,000 kilograms of broccoli in 6 months. Now, because ABC Co is worried the price of broccoli will increase during the coming months, it enters into a 10 long cauliflower. Diba? Yung long pala pati short din natin nasabi. Before tayo dyan terminology muna. Ito, if prices fall, the entity in the short position recognizes gain, he can still sell. Kasi ang short position, sa sell yan. Ang long position, ikaw yung magpe-purchase ng commodity. Kaya, terminology lang yan. Okay? Pag short position, ikaw yung magsisell. Kasi tandaan lang. Kasi to protect the fair value of its inventory against a potential decline in prices, ABC Co enters into a short futures contract. Ibig sabihin, sa futures contract na yan, ikaw yung magbebenta to sell. So pag short, sell commodity, kapag long purchase Kasi ni-skip natin 'to kasi similar lang yun sa sa forward contract na discuss natin. So, sana yun tayo. So, worried that the price of broccoli will increase during the coming months, it enters into a 10 long cauliflower. Ha? Sir, wait lang, sir. Broccoli yung pinag-usapan natin dito. So, yan yung hedge item, di ba? Pero bakit dito yung hedging instrument nyo is the cauliflower? Bakit yan, sir? Later on, ma-discuss yan. So, basta go with the flow. Yun. It enters into a 10 long cauliflower futures contract. So, basically, ang ginagawa niya dito is yung prices ng cauliflower, yung variability, yung changes of prices ng cauliflower, yun yung gagamitin niyang hedging instrument sa kanyang hedge item sa broccoli. Ganun yun. Futures contract on, so bibili daw siya kasi long long cauliflower. Pero yun yung terminology, pero alam natin, pagdating sa futures contract, it is basically net cash settlement lang. Each futures contract is based on the purchase of 100 kg of cauliflower at 92.98 per kilogram on July 1, 2001. So ito yung futures contract, ito yung hedge item, ito yung hedging instrument natin, ito naman yung hedge item sa taas. So with that, if prices go up, pag tumaas yung prices, losses incurred on the forecasted transaction, ABC purchases at a higher price, but gain is earned on the long kasi purchases at a lower price. Kasi 92. Kung makikita nyo dito, forecasted transaction natin, no committed purchase price. So, price go down, etc. etc. So, saan dito? Contrast to this illustration, ABC ko, basis risk, cauliflower, gaya na sabi natin. Since the forecasted purchase is for broccoli, while the futures contract are based on the prices of cauliflower, may problema tayo. The hedge may not be perfectly effective. Kasi iba yun eh. Hindi broccoli yung basis mo but rather the cauliflower. So, paano to ayusin? Anong magiging Anong magiging remedy nyo dito? Dito sa second bullet point. ABC ko is accepting some basis risk in that it is assuming that the prices of the cauliflower will fluctuate consistently with the prices of the broccoli. So, yun yung inaasahan, dyan naglalay, ano bang magandang word? Dyan umaasa si ABC ko pagdating sa kanyang hedging na yung prices ng kanyang broccoli same yung fluctuations sa prices na nangyayari or nagpa-fluctuate sa cauliflower. Yan yung kanyang basis risk. Dyan siya umaasa pagdating sa kanyang hedging. So with that, to the extent that the prices of the two commodities do not fluctuate consistently, hedge ineffectiveness will result. So pag hindi sila consistent sa kanilang fluctuation tong dalawa, hedge ineffectiveness yan. So yan So medyo mas risky to kasi two separate commodities, two different commodities yung yung hedge item mo sa iyong hedge instrument. At the onset of the futures contract, there must be an expectation that the movements in the prices of the two commodities are close enough that the futures contract would be highly effective as hedge. So, kailangan nag-fluctuate sila consistently para effective yung hedging mo. So, with that in consideration, ito yung prices nila. As you can see, parang nag-fluctuate nga consistently. Kasi pataas ang pataas si broccoli. Si cauliflower na hedging instrument basis natin, pataas na pataas rin. So with that, ito medyo to be honest, mas mahirap yung, hindi man mas mahirap, mas laborious yun. Mas laborious yung pag-account pagdating sa cash flow hedge. Kahit yung college nalilito rin ako dito kay cash flow hedge Mas favorite ko si fair value hedge kasi madali lang si fair value hedge Etong si cash flow hedge, marami ka pang kailangan gawin. Laborious. Ganito to. Meron na tayong prices. Ayan ito. Sana yun? 100 kilograms. 100 kilograms. Meron na tayong prices. Take note. Ito, meron tayo dito. Dapat 1,000 kilograms to. Kasi 1,000 rin yung natin. Or 100, same lang yun. Ang basis lang naman dito is yung itong mahalaga Saan na tayo? Okay, let's go. So basically, ito yung mahalaga. So ito, di ba? Ito yung hedge item natin. The forecasted transaction kung saan si broccoli yung commodity. Diba? Si hedging instrument, anong ulit yung trabaho ng hedging instrument? It is to offset the changes in the fair value or the cash flow of the hedge item to limit its exposure sa risk, diba? Yun yung trabaho ni hedging instrument. So, yun. Ang hedging instrument natin dito, yung futures contract, kung saan yung commodity niya is based on a cauliflower. So, current prices, to March, to yung basis natin, nung March 31, is 95.80, 94. 0.52. So, yan changes nila. So, tiyan nyo, nagkaroon ng consistent yung fluctuation nila. Kasi pareho silang nag-increase. So, with that, multiply that with the commodity. So, ito yung changes. Ito yung changes in thousands peso yan Kasi, 1.42 pesos per kilogram, 1.54 pesos per kilogram, times 1,000 kilograms commodity. So, wala tayong previous fair value. So, yung cumulative changes mo for March 31, 2001 is 1,420. Bawas. And, and 1 point. 1,540. Inano ko muna yung pusa ko. So, nag-record na ba? Nag-record na. So, sir, may tanong kami, sir. Bakit to? Kahit na walang negative dito, bakit to walang negative naman dito? Bakit negative 1,420 yung nandito? Dito naging positive 1,540. Wala namang negative na nakalagay dito na number. Ganito yan. Diba? Sabi natin dito. Saan yung control? Diba? Sabi natin dito, pag nagkaroon ng increase in prices, basically loss tayo kay forecasted transaction. Pero pag nagkaroon ng increase ng prices, gain naman pagdating kay futures contract, kay hedging instrument natin. So, di ba? Pag nagkaroon ng increase, ulitin natin, loss pagdating kay hedge item. Gain naman pagdating kay kay hedging instrument. Kasi 'di ba sabi dito, required siyang bilhin at 92.98. So pag nagkaroon ng increase in prices sa market, swerte pagdating kay hedging instrument kasi required lang siyang bilhin at 92.98. So pag nagkaroon ng increase sa market, gain yan sa kanya. Pero dito kay forecasted transaction, it is considered as a loss. Oo. So kaya dito pagdating, di ba? Nagkaroon ng increase. By the way, kaya to 1,000 kasi 100 times 10 futures contract. Kasi 10 futures contract tapos times 100, so that's 1,000. So kaya anyways, so dito kay hedging instrument, since nagkaroon ng increase, nagkaroon ng increase sa prices, so si hedging instrument good siya, gain yan sa kanya. Pagdating kay forecasted transaction, kay hedge item, loss yan sa kanya. Dito yan ang basis. So with that, kaya dito nakalagay is negative. So dito, wala tayong fair value nung January 1. So as it is, the cumulative changes from January 1 to March 31 is 1,420 and 1,540. Tandaan, kaya to negative because of this. Kasi nagkaroon ng increase sa prices, so loss pagdating kay hedge item, gain naman pagdating kay hedging instrument. So babaliktad yan kapag nagkaroon ng decrease sa prices, so magiging, pag ganun yung nangyari, decrease sa prices, so positive yan kay kay hedge item, negative naman pagdating kay hedging instrument. So yan, pero dito since the price goes up, so positive, negative. So, pagdating naman ng June 30, nagkaroon ng increase, nagkaroon ng increase ulit sa dalawa. So, from this alone, kita nyo na, highly effective yung ating hedging kasi consistent yung fluctuation sa prices ni broccoli at ni cauliflower. Excuse me po. So, dito, the current prices is 96.20. Okay. So, nagkaroon ulit ng increase, consistent sila. So, times with that, the kilograms of commodity. Now, in this case, 840 yung changes. From March 31 to June 30, 1,020 naman kay hedge item. Ngayon, ito yung fair value natin from March 31. So, i-add nyo yan sila. So, 2,440 yung cumulative changes from January 1 to March 30 or March 31. 238 naman yung cumulative changes para kay hedging instrument from January 1 to March 30. To June 30 to. Kaya nag March 30, March 8. Ito dito, ulitin natin, hedge item, yung cumulative changes niya from January to June is 2,440. Kay hedging instrument, 238 naman. 238. True, 2,380 naman. So, nabubulol tayo. So, yan. Meron na tayong cumulative changes. Mahalaga yan. Bakit? Later on pa. So, ito, kasi dito, tinetesting pa lang natin kung highly effective ba yung hedging natin. So far, kita naman natin, parang medyo goods naman. Pero may kailangan pang steps para ma-measure natin kung highly effective. Ito, i-assess pa natin yan. Kung highly effective or highly ineffective. So, ito, the highly effectiveness of the hedge as of March 31 in 2001 and June 30, 2001 are assessed as follow. So, ito yung these were the cumulative changes nung March 31 and June 30. Now, the expected cash flow as forecasted transaction, ito yung sila 141, 540, ito naman si 2440, 2380. Mga cumulative changes yan. So, titingnan nyo yung ratio nila, it's 92% and 103%. So, ibig sabihin yan, magkakalapit lang sila. Oh. The ratios above are within the range of 80 to 125%. Na-mention natin tong 80 to 125 last time. So, within the range of 80 to 125%, pag ganun yung nangyari, then it is considered to be effective. So, as you can see here, the variability between the two, hindi sila masyadong variable. 92% sila magkalapit. 103% naman kay June 30. So, since within yan sa range ng 80 to 125, then we can consider this as highly effective hedging. However, as mentioned earlier, the basis risk that ABC assumes may cause the hedge to be not perfectly effective. Therefore, to determine the effectiveness of the hedge, the following procedures are performed. Okay, no? Mentioned earlier, assume that ABC assumes may cause the hedge not to be perfectly effective because of the variability of the two. Dahil sa broccoli at cauliflower yan. So, in connection with that, to determine the ineffectiveness of the hedge, the following procedures are performed. Ito, kaya sabi natin, laborious masyado si cash flow hedge. Hindi ko yan favorite. Daming kailangan gawin. Ito, tinetesting pa lang natin yung effectiveness ng hedge. Wala pa tayo sa journal entries. Pero yung journal entries natin, hindi natin yung malalagyan kapag hindi natin gagawin tong mga steps na to. So, itong steps natin, una, determine the cumulative changes in the expected cash flows on the forecasted transaction. Determine the cumulative, etc., etc. Ito, mahirap to sila intindihin kasi walang example. Di ba? Mas madali yan sila maintindihan kapag may illustration na. So, yung unang step natin, step by step tayo kasi may mga steps naman dito. Yung unang step natin, determine the cumulative changes in the expected cash flows on the forecasted transaction. Na-solve naman natin dito kung ano yung cumulative changes, di ba? So, ito. In the expected cash flow on the forecasted transaction. Ibig sabihin, yung sa hedge item mo. Ito yung forecasted transaction mo, hedge item mo. So, nakita nyo, yung March 31 natin is 1,420. Yung June 30 natin, 2,240. So, input mo yan dyan for the forecasted transaction. Yung step 2 naman, determine the cumulative changes in the fair values of the hedging instrument. So, 1,540 yung cumulative changes natin and dito, 380. So, dito, second column, nandyan siya. Ito yung sa January 1, wala. March 31, meron. June 30, ito. Ngayon, step 3 tayo. Ang sabi ni step 3, determine the lower of the amounts computed in step 1 and step 2. So hanapin mo kung anong lower sa kanila. But take note, huwag itong kakalimutan, yung absolute value. So kahit negative yan, gawin mong ano, dapat absolute value sila. So in that in consideration, kahit na negative to, di ba? Kasi considering na loss yan. So ang sabi, the lower of the amounts at their absolute value, so 1,420 and to 2,380. Tandaan, absolute value. So na-determine na natin. Ang next step sa atin, the amount determined in step 3, ito na. Magiging klaro na kung ano yung mga effective pati ineffective portion. Na materialize niya, hindi na sila basta wording. So ang sabi dito, the amount determined in step 3 is the effective portion which is recognized under the OCI. So kung ano yung na-recognize mo dito sa lower sa kanila, yun na yung OCI mo. Yun na yung ilalagay mo sa other comprehensive income mo. O diba? Diba? So gaya na sabi natin, pagdating sa cash flow hedge, ang effective portion sa OCI, yung changes sa effective portion sa OCI, yung changes sa ineffective portion sa profit or loss. So dito na determine natin kung ano yung nilalagay natin sa OCI. Yung lower, now in this case, take note. Naging 960 siya. Kasi for the period yung hinahanap natin. For the period, during the period. During the period. Now, from January 1 to March 31, naka-recognize ka na ng 1,420. Then, nag-increase yan ulit to 2,380. So, yung changes lang na yun, C minus the previous balance. So, 1,420 minus 2,380 or 2,380 minus 1,420, 960. Kasi during the period lang. So from March 1 to June 31, it's 1,420. From January 1 to March 31, it's 1,420. From March 31 to June 30, it's 960. Kasi during the period lang. Ngayon, anong next? So mayroon na tayong sa effective portion. Hanapin naman natin sa ineffective portion. Yung ilalagay natin sa profit or loss. Ang sabi dito, the difference between the change in the fair value of the hedging instrument and the effective portion represents the ineffective portion na i-recognize natin sa profit or loss. So dito naman, the changes, the difference between the change sa fair value ng hedging instrument, ito yun, and yung effective portion, which is this one, Okay. So, difference ni, may formula naman dito, difference ni B minus C. So, ito yung natin, 1,540, kasi sabi dito, changes in the fair value of the hedging instrument, ito yun, and the effective portion, ito yun. So, difference sila, wag naman problema kasi meron naman ditong guideline, So, B minus C, 1,540, 120 yan. So, yung i-recognize mo during the period sa profit or loss for the ineffective portion is 120. Ngayon, for March 31 to June 30, ano naman tayo? 2,380 minus 2,380, so 0 yan. So, with that, follow to, E minus the previous balance, so negative 120 yan. So, yan yung just follow the steps. Or just follow this table. Diba? Daming kailangan gawin. Sa di ba? Sa tawag dito, daming kailangan gawin sa cash flow hedge, check mo muna kung highly effective yan. Kung hindi yan highly effective, then wag ka kung highly ineffective yan, yung hedging mo, don't bother. So ito ito naman, pagdating sa entries natin. So ito yung magiging basis natin sa entries, yung mga pinagagawa natin, or pinagagawa sa book ni Zeus. So, no entry tayo on January 1. Pagdating ng March 31, may entry tayo. Ito, overheads, underheads, reads na lang. So, as you can see, may accumulated OCI tayo of 1,420. And meron tayong gain on, ito yung sa effective portion to itong 1,420, kaya accumulated OCI. Ito naman gain on future contract. Ito naman yung 120 natin dito. Yan yung ineffective portion. So, add mo sa dalawa, 11540. Oh, kasi difference yan eh. Oh, futures contract. Oh, futures ko, 1540. So, saan tayo next? Dito, oh, pagdating ng June 30, nagkaroon na ng bentahan. So, nabenta mo at 96.20. Kasi yan naman yung presyo niyan, ni broccoli at that time. So, sa hedging instrument natin, yung accumulated OCI, 960. Kasi ito yan, no? During the period, And yung loss on futures contract natin kasi nagkaroon ng bawas kasi wala tayong previous balance kasi zero yan. So, nagkaroon ng loss. Then yan, futures contract 840. Then ito, to record the net settlement, the difference. So yan, si cash flow hedge, napaka-laborious, daming kailangan gawin. So, tandaan lang tong steps na to. Compare mo lang yan. And ito, lalo na. Hanapin mo si si effective portion, si ineffective portion. Now, after this, we will now go to the next type of, the next type ba yun? Basta, the next topic. Now, let's go, this is our next topic, which is the accounting for options. Now, ang option contract, alam ko familiar kayo dyan kasi na-discuss nyo na yan under sa law on sales nyo, di ba? Yung anong option contract, ano yung difference ng option contract sa earnest money, di ba? So dito, ang option contract is a contract, or an option is a contract that gives the holder the right but not the obligation to buy, which is tawag nating call option. Kasi di ba, ikaw yung bibili, so ikaw yung tatawag, ikaw yung maghahabol. Or sell option, ipepresenta mo. Put or sell, also called as put option kasi ipepresent mo yun. An asset at a specified price anytime during a specified period in the future. So basically itong option contract dapat separate contract to siya. It is an independent contract apart from the pinag-usapan yung bilihan, exchange of goods. And an option contract, don't treat this as an earnest money. Di ba ang earnest money is basically part of the purchase price? So basically down payment siya. Now ang option contract hindi eh. You are just making a reservation. Na ito option contract tayo na kung saan you will at this date I will have the option to buy that product, di ba? Parang ganun. So i-reserve mo yan para sa akin. So pagdating ng date na to, nakadepende na sa akin kung bibilin ko yan o hindi. Pero may option contract tayo. So you are obligated to reserve that product for me. Di ba parang ganun yung option contract. It gives you the reservation. Official reservation. So, familiar naman kayo dito eh. Na-discuss na ito sa law on sales. Pero ganun yung future, pero ganun naman kasimple yung nature ni option contract. And as we have said sa previous videos natin na si option contract, dito tayo nagre-record ng minimum initial investment, diba? Sa kanya lang nagre-record. So, dito tayo sa illustration. Madali lang naman to si option contract eh. Excuse me po. So, fair value hedge of a recognized asset. Excuse me. Nagkakamerienda ko lang. So, put option. Ibig sabihin, ikaw yung, silent ko muna ang phone ko. Ikaw yung magbebenta. Silent yun. Kasi put option eh. Kung call option yan, ikaw yung bibili. Now, on December 15, 2001, itong sa ABC ko, sold goods to a Japanese firm for 1 million yen. So, may receivable siya. Kaya ang recognized asset to. May receivable siyang marireceive kasi nagbenta siya ng goods sa isang Japanese firm. Yung marireceive niya is 1 million yen. So, si ABC ko was concerned about the fluctuation in the Japanese yen. So, concerned siya. Exposed siya eh. So, because of that, he needs to hedge that exposure to the changes in the fair value of the yen. So, on this date, ABC ko purchase a foreign currency put option. Purchase a currency put option kung saan ang value ng option contract na yan is 7,500 and stipulated sa contract na yan na on January 15, 2002, may choice si ABC ko na ibenta o hindi yung 1 million yen at 47 cents per yen. So yan yun yung option niya. So ito, yung hedge item natin dito is yung sale sa Japanese firm for 1 million yen. Yung hedge instrument natin dito is this option contract to purchase to sell 1 million yen at 47 cents on January 15, 2002. So may choice siya. So kay ABC, since may choice siya dito may choice siya dito. Kapag favorable sa kanya, then he will exercise that option. Pero kapag hindi favorable sa kanya, then he will not exercise that option. Hindi niya ibebenta yung 1 million yen na marireceive niya kay Japanese firm. Pero pag favorable sa kanya, gaya na sabi natin, then yung na-receive niyang 1 million yen, okay, i-exercise niya yan. Ipagpapalit niya yan sa 47 cents per yen. So pag favorable, ganun yung sa option sa option contracts. Pag favorable, i-exercise yan. Kapag hindi favorable, hindi yan i-exercise. Kasi lugi siya unfavorable nga. So, ito ang ating additional information. The spot rate noong December 15, 31, and January 15. Ito naman yung fair value option. Yung 7.5, bumaba ng 5, tumaas ng 8. So, by acquiring the put option, ABC Co fixes the minimum amount of pesos it will be receiving from the 1 million yen, which is 47 cents, yung fixed amount na ma-receive niya. Now, if the spot rate on January 15, 2002 is less than the 47 cents strike price, also known as the exercise price, so in the money yan. Kasi less than 47 cents kung ibebili niya sa market, mas konti yung marireceive niya as compared sa kung 47 cents yung benta niya. For example, itong 1 million yan, benta niya yung price sa market is 45 cents. Yeah? So, marireceive niya lang pag ibibenta niya sa market is 450,000. Pero kapag i-exercise niya yung kanyang option, ang marireceive niya is 470,000. O kaya in the money yan, favorable sa kanya. Kapag less than 0.47. On the other hand, kapag yung price sa market is above 47 cents, strike price, then that is out of the money, unfavorable sa kanya. Kasi di ba? Ang price sa market is let's say 50 cents per yen. Tapos yung nandito is 47 cents lang. Tapos may choice siya. Either exercise itong 47 cents or ibebenta niya lang sa market. Ikaw, anong gagawin mo? Hindi ibebenta mo lang sa market. 500,000 marireceive mo doon kaysa piliin mo yung option na 470,000 lang marireceive mo. O di benta mo lang sa market. Dito kasi maganda, may choice siya. May choice ka. Diba sa previous example natin, wala kang choice, di ba? You need to perform that. Kung favorable man o hindi. In this case, may choice ka. Kasi nga option yan O, yan kaya ganun. Mas favorable yung option, di ba? Pero, ito naman yung downside nito, may babayaran kang option price. Or option premium. Kasi that is a privilege giving you an option. Pero sa previous examples natin, di ba, walang initial investment. Pero dito meron, pero minimal lang. So, yun yung downside nito. Yeah, good side ng options is may choice ka to exercise or not. Downside, pero not ganun ka, may option payment ka, option premium. Sa previous discussion natin, you are required to exercise the hedge instrument, di ba? Pero wala kang minimum initial investment. 0 yun. So yun. Ito naman, sir, paano if equal? 47 rin at the end of the at pagdating ng exercise date. Kapag ganun, indifferent siya at the money. Indifferent siya whether to exercise the option or not. So ikaw pili kung gano'n mas convenient sa'yo, exercise mo hindi. Kasi indifferent yan equal. So ito na. Entries natin. Nung December 15, so nagkabentahan na. So may receivable na sa ABC. Yung spot rate natin at that date was 40 cents, 48 cents. So yan, sales. Ngayon, di ba sa mga previous examples natin, illustrations, wala tayong nilalagay dito, di ba? Pero ngayon meron na tayong ilalagay. The put option, the 7.5k na bayaran. Tawag dyan, small initial investment or minimal initial investment or option premium. Kasi Yan yung binayaran mo eh. To have the choice. To be given the choice to exercise or not. Di ba? Ngayon, pagdating ng December 31, year-end, recording tayo ng changes. So, nagkaroon ng increase sa 49 pesos. Oh. From receiving 480,000, 490 na yung possible na ma-receive ni ABC. So, nagkaroon ng forex gain. Tumaas yung amount na pwede niya ma-receive eh. Pagdating naman sa hedging instrument, ang changes lang i-account natin is yung sa option. From 7.5, naging 5K na lang yung value niya. Sa fair value ng option natin. So, may loss on put option tayo. Excuse me po. Okay, exercise date na. Dito na pag-iisipan, ABC, kung pipiliin niya ba. Kung mag-exercise ba siya ng option niya o hindi. Di ba? Dito niya na pag-decide yan. So, na-receive niya na yung pera galing sa galing sa Japanese firm as pambayad. So, So, cash, foreign currency, 460 kasi 46 cents na lang per yen. So, nagkaroon siya ng forex loss of 30K. Kasi ini-expect niya sana 490 pero bumaba yung yen eh. Bumaba yung palitan. So, 460 na lang yung na-receive niya. So, may loss siya dito. But no worries kasi nag-hedging instrument siya. So, may marireceive siya ditong pang-offset sa loss niya dito, di ba? So, dito nakita nyo, in-exercise niya yung kanyang option. Kasi favorable sa kanya eh. Yung price sa market is 0.46. So kung i-exercise niya yung option niya, mabebenta niya at 0.47, may gain siya. Kasi ang price lang sa market is 0.46. So kung ibebenta niya, exercise niya yung option niya, he can sell it at 0.47. So may gain siya. In this case, ito yun. So in-exercise niya yung kanyang option. So naka-receive siya ng 470,000 kasi 0.47. Tapos yung put option mo, dinirecognize mo na kasi end na eh. Tapos na-exercise pa. In the money nangyari dito. Then yung cash foreign currency, 'di ba? Gaya ng sabi tin kanina, last time pa, 'di ba? Pagdating sa mga 'yan, it basically pertains to the Japanese yen na na-receive. Kinonvert lang to peso para dito sa journal entry. Pero yan talaga yung Japanese yen. So as you can see here dito, na-receive niya yung yen at 460, kinonvert to peso. So this time, yung Japanese yen, sinurrender niya, binenta niya eh. Binenta niya para makareceive siya ng local currency. O yan ha. So wag masyado mahilo. So yun, may gain tayo of 5K. So yung squeeze is yung gain of 5K. So may put option ka, 10K sanang mo eh. Pero nagbayad ka man ng put option mo. Tapos yung fair value ng put option mo is 5K na lang. So yung natira na lang gain sa'yo is 5K. So yan rin yung isa sa mga put option. Kasi mababawasan yung gain mo kasi may binayad ka at the first place eh. Kaya dito yung fair value ng gain mo 5K. So yung gain of put option na lang kahit na yung difference ni cash pati ni 470 and 460 is 10K, di ba? Pero yung gain mo is 5K lang. Bakit? Kasi may put option ka eh. Binayaran mo yan. So, di-recognize mo yan. Ito naman sa variation out of the money, ibig sabihin, yung exercise price dito is mas malaki compared sa 0.47, yung strike price. So, ibig sabihin, kapag i-exercise mo yan, out of the money yan, hindi favorable sa'yo. So, wag mo lang exercise, di ba? Kasi unfavorable sa'yo. Tanga ka kapag exercise mo pa yan. So, assume the spot rate in this case nung January 15 is 0.48. So, the entries are as follows. So, yun, na-receive na ni ABC yung bayad galing kay Japanese firm, yung 480,000. Take note, it represents the 1 million yen, kinonvert lang to peso at the spot rate, yung loss, may loss kang 10K. So, in this case, hindi mo in-exercise. Bakit? Out of the money. Tanga ka kapag exercise mo yan kasi unfavorable sa'yo. Nag-business ka pa, di ba? So, yan. Yung put option mo, dinirecognize mo na lang. So, nag-recognize ka ng loss on put option. Kasi hindi mo na-exercise eh. Nag-expire na yung right to exercise mo. Kasi hindi mo na-exercise. Kasi unfavorable sa'yo yung situation. Ito naman, To record yan, no? To record the sale of the foreign currency in the market. Kasi di ba? Yung price sa market is 0.48. Yung price sa option mo is 0.47. So, aling mas favorable dyan, di ba? Yung 0.48. So, instead na exercise mo, yung option mo, benta mo na lang sa market. Kasi mas may ginansya kapag gain sa'yo. Okay, ito yung nangyari. Binenta na lang sa market instead na i-exercise yung option. Kasi mas favorable yung sa market. And dito naman, no, ang difference dito sa taas, mas favorable yung option compared sa market. So, in-exercise yung option. Kasi pag, what if pareho? Di ba? Pareho yung, yung parehong 0.47 din, sir. So, gaya na sabi natin, kapag indifferent, kapag same yung strike price sa option price, edi choice na ni yan, ni company yan kung exercise niya o hindi. Kasi indifferent eh. So kung ano mas convenient sa kanya, dun siya. Ito naman, no hedging designation. So ibig sabihin speculation to and call option. So call option yung in-speculate niya dito. As you know, the call option is the option to buy, di ba? So nung April 1 si ABC Co 2001, nung April 1, 2001 si ABC Co enters into a call option contract with an investment banker which gives ABC Co the option to purchase 1,000 XYZ Incorporated shares of stocks at a strike price of 100 per share. So yan yung option niya. Now, the call option expires on July 1, 2001. So, ilan to? April, May, June, July. April, May, June. Okay, 3 months lang. On July 1, ABC Co pays the banker 600 for the call option. So, yan yung option premium niya as of April 1. Now, the market price of XYZ. Ay, pusa ko to. Sorry. The market price of the XYZ Incorporated shares on April 1 is 100 per share. So yan So the call option gives ABC the right to purchase 1,000 shares at 100 pesos per share, and he paid 600 pesos for this right. So ito mga additional notes to. Pagdating sa option natin, dito sa no designation to, so speculation to. So the shares are referred to as the notional amount. So the 600 pesos payment to the investment banker is referred to as the option premium, which is obviously much less than the cost ng purchasing the shares directly. Kasi it only gives you the option eh. Now sabi dito, yung option premium daw natin indicates the value of the call option at this point in time. Obviously kasi yan yung basically the fair value of the option as of that time. And if there are any changes sa fair value ng option mo, ni-recognize mo yung changes na yun. Diba? Saan yun tayo? Ito. So, in this case, ano ba yung nilalaman, component ng option premium natin? Dalawa. The intrinsic value and the time value. The intrinsic value and the time value. So, ang option premium natin is equals to the intrinsic value plus the time value. So, at this point in time, the intrinsic value is 0. Bakit? Kasi the market price of the shares is equal to the exercise price. Now, kapag malaki yung pag mas mataas yung, let's say, yung market price is sa future is 100, is 110, tapos yung exercise price mo is 100, so you have an intrinsic value of that number of 10 times the number of shares. Yeah? Parang ganun. Kasi ang intrinsic value talks about the market price, yung comparativeness ni market price sa exercise price. But since in this case kaka-start pa lang yung market price mo is 100, exercise price mo is 100, so 0 pa lang yan intrinsic value natin dito. Yung time value naman on the other hand, before tayo dyan, ito additional note lang. On contract date, the option has a fair value greater than 0. This is due to the expectation that the market price of the ABC of the XYZ Incorporated shares will increase above the option price during the option term. This is often referred to as the time value option, time value of the option. So yan yung purpose ni time value. Yung expectation na magi-increase na as time pass by, yung expectation na magi-increase yung value ng shares ni XYZ. So ito, yung difference nila. Si intrinsic value, as of this moment, ano yung difference between the market price and the exercise price? Si time value, as of this moment, ano yung expectation na as time passes by, mag-increase yung value ng shares ni XYZ. So yun yung time value. So at this point, the equation above shall be shown as follow. Since yung option premium natin is given, so 600 yan. And since yung intrinsic value natin is ano, wala kasi market price is equal to the exercise price, so 0 yan. So with that, the time value is 600. So usually, itong time value, residual amount yan siya. Oo. Kasi ang intrinsic value, nako-compute natin yan eh. Hanapin mo lang yung difference ng market price ng shares sa kanyang exercise price. Okay, boom, nandyan. Any kulang, any residual, yun na yung time value. Any residual under the option premium, yun na yung time value mo. Ito, additional information. So ito, binibigyan tayo ng market price of XYZ. Nung April 1, it's 100. Nung June 30, it's 106 per share. And as you can see here, yung time value ng option natin, from being 600 here, naging 400 na lang. So, anong gagawin mo? Malalaman natin. So, ito, the entry on April 1. So, wala tayong hedge item kasi, di ba? This is only speculation. So, lahat nasa derivative portion yan. So, April 1, 2001, yung call option na binayad natin, cash, okay? Pagdating ng June 30, ano na nangyayari? Pagdating ng June 30, ito yung nangyari, gaya ng sabi natin. Tumaas yung price ng shares, market price ng shares. From 100 peso, naging 106 per share. Yung time value option natin, yung time value component ng option premium natin, naging 400 na lang. So with that, kailangan natin i-account yung changes na yan. Okay, so ito. As you can see, di ba ang sabi natin, yung valuation ng call option is dalawa, nakadepende sa dalawang bagay. Yung kanyang intrinsic value and yung kanyang time value. Itong time value, gaya ng sabi natin, nagiging residual lang yan siya or explicitly given. Gaya dito, 400. So dito, explicit given, 400. So, and as we have said, yung intrinsic value natin nakadepende sa differences ng market price at ng exercise ng shares. So in this case, yung exercise price ng shares is 100. Kung saan meron tayong 1,000 shares. So that is 100,000. On the other hand, pagdating ng June 30, yung market price mo for the shares is 106 per share. So multiply that by 1,000, so 106,000. So tumaas. So ibig sabihin, tumaas din yung value ng call option mo. By how much? By the difference between the market price of the shares and the exercise price. So that is 6,000. Dito. So nag-gain ka. Tumaas ang value ng shares mo eh. Pag bumaba yan, di loss yan. Pero in this case, tumaas yung market price ng shares mo. So, nagkaroon ka ng gain of 6,000. Tumaas yung value ng call option mo, nagkaroon ka ng gain. On the other hand, yung value ng time value component ng iyong option, bumaba from 600 naging 400 na lang. So, account for that dito. Nagkaroon ka ng loss of 200 kasi dati 600 yan. So, yan. Ganyan kasimple. Ito naman. So, June 30 natin. July 1 na exercise, no? So, with that, ito na, to record the net settlement, kasi di ba nag-speculate ka, and so net settlement lang to. So yung call option mo is 6,400. So nag-settle ka sa so yung cash mo is yung 6,000. Bakit? Kasi yung net settlement lang to. So yung net settlement mo is yung difference ng market price sa exercise price, which is 6 pesos per share. So times mo diyan sa 1,000 shares, so 6,000 na marireceive mo. Yung loss on call option mo, wawa ka naman. Kasi 6,400 sana call option mo. Pero ang na-receive mo lang is 6,000. So may loss ka of 400. Ito, net cash settlement. Okay. Net settlement reduces transaction costs associated with the settlement of derivative. Okay, yan lang. So ito, read nyo na lang. Medyo to, hindi naman irrelevant naman to. So let's go for accounting for swaps. So ano ba tong accounting for swaps? Ano yung sinaswap niya? From the word itself, nagkakaroon ng palitan, swaps. So basically, a swap is a contract in which two parties agree to exchange payments in the future that is based on the movement of some agreed upon price or rate, gaya ng interest. Common example includes interest rate swap and yung foreign currency swap. So, di ba? Na-discuss na natin to kung ano yan sila sa previous video natin. Pero ito, flashback recap lang. So, gaya sabi natin, which two parties agrees to exchange payments in the future based on the movement of some agreed upon price. Itong foreign currency swap, dito yan, basically, it is understandable naman kasi it is only a contract between two parties who agree to exchange sum of money in one currency o in one currency for another currency. So, kung ano ma-receive nila, yun yung it is between the two of them lang eh. Ito namang interest rate swap, ito yung i-discuss natin. This is a contract between two parties who agree to exchange future interest payment on a given loan amount. Usually, one set of interest payment is based on a fixed interest asset and the other is based on a variable interest rate. So, ibig sabihin kapag nagkaroon ng changes sa interest rate sa market, okay, yun yung magiging basis. Yung fixed naman, yung fixed interest rate, kahit na magkaroon ng changes sa market interest rate, yung fixed pa rin yung susundin. So sir, medyo mahirap man yan Mahirap man yan ma-imagine sir. Paano yan? Ganito lang ang itsura niyan. So ikaw si debtor, ikaw yan company. So may separate contract ka kay creditor. Oo, nag-utang ka sa kanya. So may babayaran kang interest, di ba? So yung babayaran mong interest kay creditor, variable. Oo, variable. Ganyan yung idea ng interest sa concept ng interest rate swap. So, variable yung babayaran mo kay creditor. So, yan, separate contract to. Ngayon, namumblema ka. Aba, Diyos ko, variable interest rate yan. So, ibig sabihin, nagpa-fluctuate yan. So, ibig sabihin, depende sa market, yung magiging payment ko sa interest. Aba, so, ibig sabihin, magiging expose ako sa risk. Yung risk na, baka tataas yung variable interest rate. So, mataas yung interest na babayaran ko. So, anong gagawin ko para ma-prevent ko, para ma-mitigate ko yung risk na yun? Eh, di papasok ka sa isang hedging instrument, mag-hedge ka. So, yun. Papasok ka na sa hedging instrument para ma-hedge mo yung variability ng interest na babayaran mo on this contract. So, with that, papasok ka sa isang swap contract, interest swap. Yung tawag mo dito, this is another contract independent of this one sa taas. This is an independent contract ha. Independent yan sila. So papasok ka sa isang interest rate swap contract. Kung saan yung party dito is ikaw and yung swap party. Itong swap party. So ito ang kasunduan yung dalawa. Since 'di ba ang gusto mo ma-hedge yung variability ng interest payment mo dito, di ba? Yun yung reason ba't ka dito pumasok. So, ang magiging usapan dito, since variable yung interest na babayaran mo and you want to make sure that you will be able to pay it, so yung ibibigay, yung matatanggap mong galing kay swap party, yung matatanggap nito, kaya nga may araw, yung matatanggap ni debtor galing kay swap party is a receipt of variable interest. Oo, para ma-make sure niya na makakabayad siya dito. So, yung marireceive niya dito, yan na yung pambabayad niya dito. Oo, parang yan rin yun. O yan, na-hedge niya yung niya. Na-hedge niya yung kanyang yung kanyang contract dito, yung kanyang payment of interest dito. Kasi kung si swap party, ibibigay niya is variable interest. Ngayon ito namang si debtor, ang ibibigay niya kay swap party is a fixed interest based on the fixed interest rate. So yan ang mangyayari. Na sir, so anong labot niyan sir? Anong mangyayari? Let's say for example, sa start ng year, 10%, ito 10% to, start ng year. So for the first year, wala pa yung changes. For the next year, ang nangyaring problema, ganitong kontrata nila, naging 12% yung interest rate. So pag naging 12% yung interest rate, si debtor mas malaki yung babayarang interest niya kasi variable eh. From 10% naging 12% sa next year. Pero si debtor, chill lang kasi may marireceive siya galing kay swap party na pambayad. Ngayon ito namang fixed interest rate, based rin yan sa 10%, sabihin natin. So in this case, ginansya si debtor. Kasi ang na-receive niya galing kay swap party is at 12%. Pero yung babayaran niya kay swap party is at 10%. So nagkaroon siya ng ginansya of at least 2% sa interest rate. O ganyan nangyari. Now what if next time, instead na 10% naging, o instead 12% to pagka next year, ang naging interest rate is naging 9% o mas bumaba. So in this case, dito sa contract na to sa taas, happy si debtor kasi yung babayaran niyang interest mas mababa compared sa 10% dati, 9% na lang ngayon. So happy siya dito. Pero pagdating dito sa second contract na to, dito sa swap contract na to, malungkot si debtor. Bakit? Kasi ang fixed na babayaran niya is at 10%. Pero since dito yung marireceive niya is variable lang, variable lang, so 9% lang marireceive niya. So yun, di ba? Nagkaroon ng offsetting. So yan yung, nagkaroon ng offsetting. So yan, hedging yan. In-offset nito, yung any changes pagdating dito. Di ba? Yan man yung purpose ng hedging natin. Nasa meron bang mga instances na yung marireceive ni debtor is fixed, tapos yung babayaran niya variable, tapos dito fixed? May mga ganong instances. So baliktarin nyo lang yung gagawin. May mga ganong instances talaga. So depende yan. Pero usually ganito yan. Kasi mas simple to. So yan yan yung idea. So don't forget about that. Huwag niyong kalimutan. Ito lang yung basically logic. Yan lang yung main discussion ng interest rate swap. Huwag na kayo magbasa sa iba pa. Yan lang yung basically the discussion. Makukuha nyo na yung understanding from the interest rate swap. Intindihin nyo lang tong diagram na to. For the discussion, of course, iba rin yung pagdating sa illustrations. So illustrations tayo. Cash flow hedging. Now typically, pagdating sa interest rate swap, cash flow hedge yung ginagamit. Bakit? Kasi sa interest rate swap, ano ang nangyayari? Di ba nagkakaroon ng variability sa cash flows? Variability sa cash flows. So since nagkakaroon ng variability sa cash flows, anong ginagamit natin pagdating doon? Di ba? Cash flow hedge. So yun, follow nyo accounting for cash flow hedge. Kasi nagkakaroon ng, ulitin natin, usually kasi, yun ang ginagamit. Nagkakaroon ng variability sa cash flow hedge. So with that, ito, illustration 1 tayo. Saan ang pusa niyo? Saan ka naman sa ilalim? So, sana tayo? So, on January 1, 2001, ABC Co. obtain a 2-year 1 million variable rate. Aba, Diyos ko, variable rate. Ito yan. Ay, ito pa sobra. With an interest payment that is due at each year end. And the principal due on December 31, 2002. So, 2 years yung contract. Now, as a protection from possible fluctuation in market rates, ABC Co. enters into an interest rate swap for the whole principal of the loan. Excuse me po. Takot siya kasi variable rate yung babayaran niyang interest . So, gusto niyang ma-offset yang. So, papasok sa isang hedging. Under the agreement, pumasok sa sa swap contract. So, under the agreement, ABC Co. shall receive a variable interest rate. Receive variable interest rate. And he will pay, or ABC will pay a fixed interest rate that is based on the fixed rate of 8%. Ito yun. So with that, the interest rate swap will be settled net on, so net lang, on maturity date. So yan, ganyan kasi. So the following are the current market rates noong January 1. Take note pagdating sa interest rate swap, yung gagamitin yung interest rate swap for the year is kung ano yung interest rate from the start of the year. Bakit? Kasi ang assumption, kung ano yung interest rate at the start of the year, yan na yung interest for the entire year. Di ba? We're talking about the time value of money. So, ito yung i-apply. Kung ano yung interest rate at the beginning of the year, yan na for the entire year. Huwag yung gamitin yung ending, ha? Yung beginning. Minsan yung estudyante ginagamit yung beginning, yung ending. Kasi akala nila for the whole year yan. Hindi yan. Dapat yung beginning kasi cover niya yung whole year, di ba? From January to December. So, in 2001, it's 8%. For 2002, it's 10%. Ngayon, may dalawa tayo ngayon, di ba? Yung hedge item, yung ito, di ba? Ito yan, yung sa taas. Then, yung hedging instrument, yung interest rate swap, yung derivative natin, ito yan. Two independent contracts as it is. So, nung dito sa hedge item natin, nangutang siya, di ba? Nag-loan siya. Payable niya, cash, naka-receive siya, tapos loan payable. Ngayon, for 2001, December, saan yun? Tubig mo na. Ito na, analysis. Ngayon, kung titingnan natin, so dito tayo sa net cash settlement on the swap, and it is determined as follows. Noong 2001, yung ating variable rate, which is the market rate, is 8%. Yung ating fixed rate is 8% din. So pagdating sa swap contract natin, sa hedging instrument lang to, ang receivable is 80%. Kasi 88% yung sa market, 80,000. Kasi 8% lang yung sa market eh. Yung fix natin, 8% rin. So usually sa first year wala yan eh. Kasi yung nagiging basis dito kung ano yun sa market at that time. So, pag first year, usually wala yung dito. So, yung net cash settlement natin, wala. Kasi usually sa first year, yung basis ng percentage sa first year, yun yung basis ng percentage sa interest rate swap. Yung kung ano yun sa market. Kaya, usually wala yung laman. Zero yan. Pero, pagdating ng second year, yung market rate, yung variable rate natin is 10% na. So, 100,000 na yung marireceive, yung marireceive na interest ni debtor. Then yung babayaran niya is 8% pa rin yung basis kasi fix nga. So, may net cash settlement si ABC of 20,000. So, parang dito, naka-receive siya ng 100, nagbayad siya ng 80. So, ang net cash receipt ni debtor dito is 20,000. So, there is no cash settlement because the variable and fixed at the beginning is the same. Yun. So, yun However, yung bayaran na yan, kailan masisettle? Next year pa. Sa December 31, 2002 pa yung cash, yung settlement niyan. So, kung i-record mo na yan, dapat yung i-record mo dyan, since next year pa yung settlement niya, is yung present value niya. So, i-record mo yung present value ng 20,000. So, yung N mo is 1 kasi December 31, 2002 pa yan. 1 year pa. At 10% kasi yung variable niya. So, yung fair value of the derivatives, yung present value niya, is 18,182. Ayan So, yun yung i-record mo. So, pagdating sa journal entry ng December 2001, interest expense at 80 kasi variable nga, di ba? So, yan. Ito yung sa hedge item mo ta. So, cash Pagdating naman sa pagdating sa hedging instrument mo, record mo yung interest rate swap asset to asset to. That is an asset 18,182 and an accumulated OCI, gaya sabi ting cash flow yan. So, accumulated OCI 18,182. To recognize the fair value ng ating interest rate swap. Pagdating naman ng 2002, ito yun. Yung hedge item natin, nagbayad ka, di ba? Kasi variable yan. Hedge item natin. So, nagbayad ka ng interest payment of 100,000. Ngayon, yung hedging instrument mo, nag-settle na. Nagkaroon na kayo ng net cash settlement. Di ba? 20,000 yung marireceive mo. So, debit ka ng 20,000. Interest rate swap mo, 18,182, ina-record mo, then additional pa, kasi di ba? Pag i-amortization table mo yan, ito yung difference nag-reach na to 20,000, di ba? So yan, accumulated OCI, 1818. So ito na, repayment of the loan. Binayaran mo na yung loan na inutang mo. And as you can see here, itong mahalaga. Tingnan nyo. Accumulated OCI, ni-reclassify mo na yung OCI mo, yung accumulated OCI, to profit or loss under interest expense. Uy, bakit yan sir nag-credit interest expense? Dito natin makikita yung reasoning. Kasi the effect of the hedging instrument on ABC's cash outflows for interest is analyzed as follow. Diba? Ito yung mangyayari kapag hindi ka nag-hedging. Wala kang ginawang hedging. Yung utang lang talaga. So, yung unang year, diba? 80,000 yung binayaran mong interest. For the second year, it's 100,000. So, yung payment mo sa interest is 180. Ngayon, pag nag-hedging ka, diba ang gusto mo, maintain lang, sakto lang, maintain mo lang yung interest rate na babayaran mo. Kaya ka nag-hedging, ayaw mo ng fluctuation. So, in this case, gusto mo lang i-maintain na yung babayaran mo is at 80,000. Kasi at 8% yung gusto mo. Ayaw mong lumampas, ayaw mong bumaba. Gusto mo lang sakto. Kasi ayaw mo ng fluctuation. So in this case, nung first year, nagbayad ka ng 80. Nung second year, yes, nagbayad ka ng 100 kasi at 10% variable yan. Pero nagkaroon ka ng net cash settlement receipt of 20,000. O, di ba? Dito yan galing, oh. So, all in all, yung binayaran mo lang talaga pagdating sa isang situation kung saan meron kang hedging instrument is 160,000. Kaya nandito yung interest expense natin of credit, 20,000. Kasi in-offset nito, yung basically sobrang interest expense na binayaran mo sa iyong hedge item. Kasi yan naman talaga yung purpose ng hedge instrument. To offset any changes that happens in the hedge item. Kaya dito, all in all, kahit na dito tingnan mo sa hedge item mo, 180,000 yung binayaran mong interest expense. But in reality, because of your hedging instrument, ang nabayaran mo lang talaga is 160,000. Kasi yung hedging instrument mo, in-offset yung fluctuation na nangyari sa interest payment sa iyong hedge item. So yan yung purpose niyan. Okay, klaro, di ba? Ito naman, kapag may periodic payment, so same gist lang yan. Same gist lang yan. Basta yun yung idea ng interest, interest rate swap. To periodic payment lang, same lang yung idea dyan. So, yan yung discussion natin for part 3 ng ating derivatives. So, next discussion, next part of this video is yung part 4 na. So, abangan. Dulce. So, hello. Dito tayo ngayon sa ating last topic for the entire semester, which is the part 4 of the derivatives. So, which is the accounting for net investment hedges and embedded derivatives. So, ito, maikling discussion lang to. So, para matapos na tayo. So, dito tayo. A net investment hedge a net investment hedge is a hedge na kung saan hinihedge mo yung foreign currency risk of a net investment in a foreign operation with either a foreign currency derivative instrument or a foreign currency denominated non-derivative financial instrument gaya ng foreign currency denominated debt. So, investment in foreign operations include investment in subsidiaries, branches, joint ventures, and associates whose functional currency is different from that of the investor. So, ano meaning yan? Ibig sabihin, di ba? Pag nag-i-invest, di ba alam naman natin na yung foreign currency rates nagpa-fluctuate yan depende sa many factors, di ba? Maraming reasons or maraming factors kung bakit nagpa-fluctuate yan. So, ang siste, pag nag-invest ka, basically you have an investment overseas. So, ibig sabihin yung investment sa overseas, yung ginagamit na currency doon is kung ano yung currency sa kung saan yung investment na yun. So, and with that, nagkakaroon ng risk na kung saan due to the fluctuation of the foreign currency rate, baka maging negative yung effect sa'yo ng fluctuation na yun. Yeah? So, in order to hedge yourself from that risk, anong gagawin mo? Hanap ka hedging instrument. Ganun lang, di ba? May risk due to fluctuation, due to the variability, due to the possible changes. How will you protect yourself? One way is to hedge, di ba? Kuha ka hedging instrument. So, ganun yun dito. Ngayon, at each reporting date, the carrying amount of this investment is remeasured at the current exchange, the current spot exchange rate. So, any change in carrying amount is recorded sa in the cumulative translation adjustment account within the OCI. So, accumulated OCI ulit to. So, of this exposure, is also the effective portion, at the same time pala, the effective portion of a hedge of this exposure is also recorded in the cumulative translation adjustment account. So basically itong mga itong gagawin natin dito sa sa hedge of net investment foreign operation. Yung basically yung may similarities ito basically doon sa sa previous discussion natin under sa paano natin ginawa yung hyperinflationary economy. Mga similar concepts, and yung sa foreign operations doon sa chapter 13, 14, 13, 12, 11, 12. At sa chapter 9 yung foreign exchange rates, di ba? Pati yung sa pag-translate ng business combinations, di ba? Ganun. May similarities yun dito. So, magagets niya to agad because of the similarities pag binasa niyo yung book. So, on July 1, ito fact pattern illustration tayo o pa-hedge o pa-net investment in foreign operation. Okay. Noong July 1 daw, 2001, si ABC ko acquired 100% interest kay XYZ. So, ito, business combination to. Kung saan, si ABC ko si parent, si XYZ si subsidiary. A company situated in a foreign country. The currency of that country is Armenia. So, sa Europe to, sa Armenia. Ang tawag sa currency niya is Armenian dirham or Armenian dram, AMD. Basta AMD daw. Now the business combination did not result to any goodwill. So saktong-sakto kung ano yung binayad niya sa investment niya. Yun din yung COI niya, cost of investment. Yun din yung kanyang FB&A. So walang goodwill. Noong December 31, 2001, financial statements of the combining constituent show the following information. So ito, similar sa ginawa natin sa previous chapters, previous topics So as you can see here, investment is subsidiary, receivable, ito kaya ABC ko in pesos to, ito naman in AMD, Armenian dirham. So ito mga investment subsidiary, ito may intercompany transactions, So ito naman yung mga exchange rates natin. Spot rate nung July 1. Ito naman ito basically closing rate to kasi 12.31 to. Average spot rate for the 6 months, 12-month forward rate, ito 6 months forward rate. Kasi ito pag meron tayong forward rate. But first, no hedging muna. So alam natin pag walang hedging instrument, basically you're speculating. So hindi mo na-cover yung hindi mo na-offset yung losses mo. Either you win or you lose. Kasi you're speculating Walang hedging. So, sa derivatives mo. Now, compute for the translation gain. Translation, di ba? Ginawa natin yan lahat. Last time pa. To be recognized sa OCI, assuming no hedging instrument was obtained. To make way for consolidation procedures, the intercompany accounts must be adjusted to closing rates. Yung closing rate natin dito is yung 1 peso for 2 AMD. The translation difference on the intercompany accounts shall be accounted for as forex gain or loss to be recognized as subsidiaries profit or loss. So as you can see here, ang gagawin natin, yung receivable. Ito ang i-convert natin kung ano yung kay parent, i-convert natin pabalik i-convert natin sa currency papunta sa currency ni subsidiary. So, the receivable, sa currency subsidiary. Tama, receivable from XYZ, ito yun, So, since yung closing rate natin, December 31, which is the spot rate on that date, pero yan man yung closing. So, 1 peso is to 2 AMD. So, times 2, so yung adjusted balance of the payable to ABC ko, which is the receivable from XYZ, pero napunta na sa tinranslate na, papunta sa currency ni subsidiary, that's 2 million AMD. So as you can see here, di ba kita nyo dito, this receivable from XYZ, ang partner niyan or ang opposite niyan, reciprocal niyan, is the payable to, ba't ko palagyan ng arrow? Same lang yun. So then, is this one. So itong 1 million peso, ano yan sa AMD pag na-translate na natin? It's 2 million. So since ganun yung nangyari, yung payable to AMD, which is the unadjusted ito, and yung pag na-adjust na to the AMD, to the foreign currency of the of the subsidiary, 2 million na siya. So it means there's a forex loss of in the subsidiary's profit or loss kay in 250,000 AMD. Kasi tingnan nyo, yung recorded niya was 1,750, tapos yung translate mo kasi intercompany ano sila, accounts, 2 million pala dapat. So that is 250 loss sa forex loss kay subsidiary. Notice that the parent's account is the one that is translated to the subsidiary's functional currency. Bakit? In order to compute for the, ito yung reason, in order to compute for the forex gain or loss to be recognized as subsidiaries, separate profit or loss. Kaya ang ginawa natin, ito yung translate para ibangga, i-compare sa account ni subsidiary foreign para malaman yung forex loss in subsidiaries P&L. Bakit? Kasi later on sa consolidation makita nyo. Ngayon ito naman, ito, familiar kayo dito. Ito rin yung ginagawa natin last time, di ba? Yung number 1. Di ba? Business combination, consolidation, kung saan may foreign operation, di ba? Yan yung ginagawa natin. So as you can see here, same lang. The translation adjustments to be recognized in the OCI in the consolidated FS is computed as follow. Ito yung para sa translation of XYZ's opening asset. So, nung July 1, ito yung kanyang net assets si subsidiary nung July 1 at opening rate it's 150. Pagdating sa baba yung closing rate is 2 na. Di ba? Kasi yan yung beginning eh. So nung beginning 2 million yan. Tapos tapos pagdating ng December 31, yung beginning account niya, pag ita-translate mo na 1,500,000 na lang. So there's a decrease in the opening net asset of 500. Dito naman, translation of changes in net assets during naman the period to. Profit of subsidiary at average rate, profit of subsidiary at closing rate. Ito ang decrease rin yan. Since wala tayong goodwill, so wala rin yan dito. So yung total translation loss mo, which will be recorded to the OCI is 607,143. So, ito na yung consolidation worksheet natin. Kita nyo, ito yung una. Then magkakaroon ng adjustments. Tingnan yung adjustments, ito 250. Kasi which the forex loss in subsidiaries P&L, ito yan. The 250 adjustments pertain to the forex loss on the intercompany payable which is recognized in the subsidiary separate profit or loss. Notice that even though the intercompany accounts have been eliminated, the forex loss remains in the consolidated total equity. So ito nang adjusted ni AN Tapos in AMD pa to. Tapos ngayon you will multiply it by the rate. Similar talaga sa ginawa natin sa previous topics before derivatives. So yan ito yung consolidate, ito na yung consolidated. So yan yung pag walang hedging. So you will take, wala kang pang offset sa forex loss na ma-experience mo. So since gusto mo maprotektahan ang sarili mo from the fluctuation of the currency, di ba? Pahanap ka hedging instrument. Acquire ka ng isang hedging instrument to offset the changes, di ba? So itong case number 2 natin, may hedging na. So use the fact pattern above. So yung previous natin. Now in addition to that, on July 1, 2001, si ABC Co. entered into a forward contract para magbenta to sell AMD to. AMD 5 million AMD which the tax rate is 40%. at a forward rate of 1.54 in 12 months to limit its foreign currency exposure sa kanyang net investment. The forward contract is designated as a hedge on the net investment and with the appropriate discount factor of 0.971286. Kasi in ano pa present value pa ang gagawin mo. So with that, kumuha ka ng hedging instrument. So anong gagawin mo? Compute for the net gain at net translation gain or loss to be recognized sa OCI. So ito hedging instrument natin. Okay, na-solve naman natin itong hedge item. So dito tayo sa hedging instrument. So the fair value of the forward contract on July 2001 is 0. Kasi wala pa man yan. Ngayon, pagdating ng December 31, ito na yung fair value ng forward contract. Ibang sabi, in 6 months from July to December. So, kasi 6 months man, July to December. So, yung 5 million AMD mo, translate mo to. Yung 5 million AMD mo, ang gagamitin mo na, ito-translate mo na to peso. So, 5 million divided by 2.02. Ano yung 2.02? Ito 6 months forward rate ang gagamitin mo kasi 6 months pa lang from July to December 31. So, 1 peso for 2.02 AMD and since kino-convert mo from AMD to peso, so divide mo. So, ito, 2.475 million peso. Ngayon, the sale price at the pre-agreed forward rate, which is this one. So, basically, ito yung sa market. Ito yung nasa stipulation ng hedging instrument mo. So, 5 million divided by 1.54. Saan yun? So, 3246. So, ang difference nila is 771. Then, times mo, hanapin mo yung present value nila kasi ilang pa. So, 0.09. Then, the fair value of the forward contract, which is December 32, as of December 31, 2001 is 749. So, bakit yan? Positive asset. Kasi, di ba, ang pinag-usapan nyo, ibibenta mo yan at 1.50. Ibibenta mo yung 5 million AMD at 1.54. Di ba? Ibibenta mo at 1.54. Ang problema, tumaas yung value. So, tumaas from 1.54 naging 2.02. Pag ganyan yung nangyari, nag-fluctuate, unfavorable sa'yo yung tawag dito? Yung foreign currency. Kasi in this case, di ba? You will try to translate. So, divide yung gagawin mo. Divide. Kasi di ba? Tawag dito? Indirect quotation tayo. Indirect quotation tayo. Kita niyo yan? Indirect quotation yan. So, divide ang ginagawa. So, in that case, di ba? Na-involve na talaga ang analyzation dito sa derivatives. Kailangan talaga ng analyzation. So, with that, pag nangyari to, nag-increase, divided by, yung 5 million mo, divided mo 2.02, 247 lang pag ibibenta mo sa market. Pag itong sa forward contract mo, dyan mo ibibenta using the 1.54 account, swerte ka, mas malaki yung matatanggap mo. Kasi sa market, if ever man, doon mo ibibenta, 2.4 million lang marireceive mo. Pero since may forward contract ka, mabibenta mo at for each 1 peso at 1.54, marireceive mo 3.2 million. Swerte ka. Favorable sa'yo. So, that is a asset. Yung forward contract mo. So, di ba? So, tanda na, indirect quotation to. Kaya divided yung ginamit. Tandaan yan. Now, an asset is recognized because the sale price of the 6-month forward rate is 2.475 but ABC can sell higher. Ganyan sabi natin, kaya favorable. In that case, the gain or loss on the forward contract is computed as follow. Noong July 1, wala pa. Fair value ng forward contract, 749 kasi asset yan siya, favorable. Which is the increase in fair value and realized gain in OCI, gross of tax. Since binigay yung tax natin at 40%, so may deferred tax liability ka, yung unrealized gain mo sa OCI, net of tax is 449. Now, the unrealized gain on the change in the fair value of the forward contract is recognized in other comprehensive income because the hedge of the net investment is accounted for similar sa isang cash flow hedge kaya sa OCI. Ito na yung mga natin. Journal entries, refer to the previous gaya na sabi natin, similar lang yung ginawa natin. Pinasukan lang natin ng OCI, ng hedging instrument. Ganyan lang yan. So, ito, deferred tax liability, OCI, ito, total forex translation. Ito na. The net translation, the net translation gain or loss to be recognized in OCI is computed as follow. Ito yung total translation loss natin, OCI without hedging. Yeah? 607,143. Siya na yun, no? Ito, 607,143. Yan. Yan yung total translation loss natin. Tapos ngayon, yung na-hedge mo, yung na-offset mo sa kanya is the amount of 449,611. Ito. So, yung 607,140 loss mo, dahil sa hedging instrument mo, na-offset mo siya kahit papaano. So, yung magiging total forex translation loss mo na lang is 157,532. O, yeah? Dahil nag-hedging ka, nabawasan yung loss mo. Oh, good for you. On the computation above, the net investment hedge has effectively decreased the total translation loss. Oh, yay! Congrats! So, ito, embedded derivatives tayo. Ang embedded derivatives, basically, parang wala man yan siya loss. Embedded. Kasi usually, itong embedded derivatives, itong, di ba, embedded sa, usually sa, pinagdi-discuss nyo yan pagdating sa financial accounting reporting, yung mga embedded instruments. So, itong embedded derivatives, wala rin man to. Tiris lang to. Basahin nyo na lang. Embedded. Basta ito, embedded. Nasa loob siya ng isang, kasama siya. Conversion option, hybrid contracts. It is the host instrument, financial assets. So, yan, sa nyo ito madidiscuss sa PFRS 9 nyo, sa Financial Accounting and Reporting. Ito, separation of embedded derivative from host contract. Ito, may tinatawag ata tayo dito, dati tinatawag tong bifurcation. Pero nata yun? Basta, PFRS 9 to. So, yun, ito, bifurcation. Dito pala. Pag-separate, so yun, non-separation. So, yan lang. Yan yung discussion natin for the entire yan, ito na yung last video natin for the entire semester. So, yan. Tapos na tayo sa discussion. So, with that, reminder lang ulit. Wednesday, this week, Wednesday, BAPE 6, long exam. Friday, BAPE 7, long exam. Next week, sa finals week natin, same schedule. BAPE 6, Wednesday. BAPE 7, BAPE 7, tawag dito? BAPE 7, Friday. So, midterms week yun. Ngayon, may dare ako sa inyo. Baka yung iba sa inyo, hindi pa panoorin yung video na to. I will give you 24 hours. Pag walang nag-comment, basically ganito. Sige, ganito tayo. Paano ba to sabihin? Yung coverage ng final exam natin will be the entire book. Pero if, for both subjects, coverage ng final exam will be the entire book. Okay? For both subjects. Pero kapag within 24 hours, let's say, may nag-comment hindi man nag-comment, may mag-chat sa GC na kung saan sasabihin, "Sir, wag sir. Kawawa kami sir. Yung second quarter coverage na lang sir." Parang ganun. So, pag mag-chat sa GC ng ganun, na second quarter coverage na lang, so second quarter coverage na lang. Pero within dapat 24 hours. This is for the whole batch sa GC nyo. Pag walang nag-chat, within 24 hours, then full coverage tayo ng books. Bakit ganyan sir? Trip ko lang. So with that, this is our last video for the entire semester. So thank you. Have a nice sleep ahead. Good night. Bye-bye. Love you.